Okay, Siri, thank you.
Okay,
So we just approved the minutes from last week.
yes, we did. Did you guys have a chance to vote on approving the minutes? We did vote. I don't know whether you were listening.
They said
aye.
You said aye. Oh,
We said aye.
Always better if you sit there and sit there, or.
Yeah, I mean, Ed, we can't see your face. I mean,
Yeah.
and you're the
We don't
president.
know if
so
you have
maybe-
any expression on your face.
Okay, that's better. All right.
Do you want me to move over there? So we're more spread out? There we go. That's better.
Now you can talk to them. If you want.
All right, under the library director, for two main things. Reporting in the absence of the director. One is the usage, and one is the program. Shawnee, you wanna?
Sure. So the usage report is pretty much like what it was before, just with the addition of January 2025. So, kind of through the assembles to think questions. It does. Right? For this is for ebooks, audiobook for
Yeah,
Libby, Hoopla, quarterly digital, in-person statistics, and quarterly.
the new form you worked on.
The new one looks like this, and basically it's color coded.
Thank you.
It actually was born out of because I was collecting all the data for the annual report, and so one of the things that the annual report asks for is essentially a lot of the information that's spoken about here, which we've never had before. So I realized after having to go through all of the tally sheets and calculate this information that it would be helpful to have it going forward for us, as well as, you know, for the next director to prepare the next annual report. So I just, because the annual report breaks the information down according to, they ask you, essentially they go by for live sessions, is it on-site, off-site, or virtual? And for January and February, everything has been on-site. But in the past, we have had virtual events, and we've also had a few off-site events. And then they also break it down according to age groups. So 0 to 5, 6 to 11, 12 to 18, 19 plus, and general interest refers to multi-age groups. So if it's children and parents. So the art show receptions each month, the spring craft fair, even the pumpkin decorating fair, because that's really, you know, whole family. So that's considered general interest. And I categorize it this way because I thought it would be helpful to see. You can see what we're doing, and then you can also see the attendance. And then I broke the attendance down for recurring programs like the story time, the art class. I did it according to like the art class in January only met once, but the story time I met 3 times. So I recorded the attendance per session so you could see it and then totaled it. But you'll also see, for example, that the art class with Alexis, as well as her create and sip, she always has a wait list. She has to cap the registration at 12 because of the size of the room.
Right.
This is just something for us to know, and this is good information, but she actually has she always has a long wait list. So maybe that's something for us to consider. You know, the need is there.
Maybe having 2 of
This
the
is,
same.
yeah, maybe having, and actually the last create and sip, she did it in person. But she also had to cap that at 15 people, but
in here.
yeah. So those are just some things for us to keep in mind as we
Also, evening, I've had so many adults
Can I
say
just
to me,
look at
we have them in evening, so many things
Send
are
us
offered that
one
they want to
section.
do.
That's an important.
So, and then one of the things that I noticed, I didn't include the times, but if you look at Nancy's story times on Monday, it's actually in the morning, 11 to 12. She gets a lot of kids and parents. It's all 0 to 5, so each child always has a parent caregiver. But she also does events or programs on Thursday, Sometimes it's family bingo, sometimes it's a child,
Like a
adult
craft
child
or
book club,
Yeah.
yes, we're in craft. But the attendance on those tends to be lower. And I was thinking that maybe that's because the time is 4:30 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6:30.
Oh,
And
like it's just be for
Dinner
yeah, so maybe,
Yeah.
especially if you're targeting 0 to 5, that's a tough time.
Yeah,
for
that's
them.
a tough time.
So maybe it's worth, considering, can we shift it earlier in the day? Because those kids are not in school. So it could become like the story time where it's 11 to 12,
Mhm.
and then she might actually get, a lot more kids coming. So those are just some,
So I would like to make 2 points about this. One is, we'll discuss this later when we get to the report, but compare this kind of data to just a list of programs.
Right.
This
very good.
has much more.
but, and then I realized as I was, because the annual report also asks, how many, you have to tally up the number of reference questions annually, library PC use, Wi-Fi use. And then I was like, well, why not include bathroom use? Because we put that on the tally sheets. So I included those numbers below because those are all services that we provide as well. And you can see where the highest is the bathroom use. Which, but so it's helpful to have those kind of numbers. Library PC use means the computers that are on side, whereas
Right.
Wi-Fi is when people
Doing that work.
laptops
I'm
and use
amazed,
Wi-Fi.
and 76
Yeah.
in 1 month, 76 people use those.
And a lot of it actually depends. I was talking with Dylan, and
Wow.
he said that sometimes it depends on the staff. They don't necessarily go around. Sometimes it's hard to see, what
Right.
everybody's doing. So the number might not be completely
Yeah,
accurate, but it's a
no.
ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they say like library PC usage, I know that we have one patron that's here all the time on the computer.
Okay.
I don't know if she doesn't have it at home, she
Okay.
doesn't have access, but she's in here a lot, whenever
Yeah.
she's working on it. So,
Well, the other thing to note is that some of that is not having a printer. That they're here to print
Yeah.
out.
well, that's,
There's a lot of that.
yeah.
Do they pay for pages printed?
They do.
They do, right?
But that might be different than library PC use because they don't have to use our computers. They can print from their phones. But that might be
They
lumped
can.
into the Yeah, people come in with their phone. Well, then they ask the staff, I want to print something.
I thought you said they did.
I don't think they can, because I tried
Oh,
to do
you're
that.
right, you're right,
You
you're right,
have to
you're
email
right.
it to one of them.
Yeah,
and they-
right. That's true. You're absolutely right.
We learned a lot interviewing.
Yeah, this came up in the.
That's,
Yeah.
you're
Taught
absolutely
us a
right.
lot
Yeah.
about libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can only print from the PCs, not
Okay.
from laptops. Like if I wanted to print something right now, I could,
Got it. Yeah, I can't either. I have to email it to them.
which I think is good.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Because then you,
Otherwise, people will be standing out.
Yeah, right.
and Stuff.
that would be another tally we had to pick up.
How much paper you can-
Something else to note is that the parts section.
Go ahead, Charlie's got a question.
So just talking about that PC usage, is that more or less than what you thought it was going to be? Because I know we've been talking about this and we were saying that, we don't think anybody uses the PC. I was actually happily surprised at that number.
Well, I can go through the tally sheets.
But what is one
It's-
usage? I have a question now.
It's actually
If it's
that's high.
one usage, what does that mean? Every time somebody logs in, it's
Right.
considered usage?
Anytime anybody uses the computer.
All right, but it doesn't indicate how
How
many.
long or how?
No, well, it doesn't indicate how many different
Are you
people.
talking about
are using
Wi-Fi
it.
or?
No, just the PC usage. So if I'm coming in every day and I'm logging in,
That's
and
one.
I
That's
log
fine.
out and I come back, log in, but it's the same person. It's not differentiated. It's just taking account.
Oh, yeah.
How every
You
time
could
somebody
go
goes
come
on.
twice in one day, that's coming
So
too.
what this
Yeah.
all gets at
Yeah.
is, first of all, we haven't, this started because of the annual
Yeah,
report,
right.
has these questions.
Mhm.
And one thing that becomes clear is we need to be keeping this data on an ongoing basis, which takes a little more work on the staff's part, plus the janitor. But if they're doing this all the time, then when we go to do the annual report, it's all sitting.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what
I know.
I told her, bring this as show and tell.
Poor
Well,
Sean.
I started,
No,
I
you have no idea.
started first by,
I know.
I had to do it first by the month, so I John actually printed these out. And then I went through and had to group them, like which one is 05,
then look at
which
the-
one is 6 to 11,
Shauna, this is
and then
like,
I went
Yeah.
through it again and then calculated the attendance.
And
So for specific events, I found that. I
thank
was like,
goodness you have
I
a
was-
brain that works that way. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
and
I
then-
can catch
the
it.
Very
numbers,
well.
the numbers had to match.
Yeah.
So if they didn't, I was like, oh no. But actually, they did.
I did the same
Sorry,
issue.
those are-
So one message from this is, John now knows more about what goes on in this library than anybody else.
Has ever known.
That's me.
Has ever known.
New
But
director
I
should shadow.
I learned a lot.
You know,
Just-
I'm concerned about the library's funds, because if anybody wants to hold you, you know, for ransom, we're all screwed.
Well, I-
Thank you for working
one
so
of the things
damn
I
hard.
suggest, this is not there, but we will take out life insurance.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
So I was looking at it, Sean, and it looked like a tremendous amount of work, and thank you for doing that. But you were comparing last year's, like, all the statistics to this year, correct?
Well, so this is only just last month and this month. I haven't gotten, I'm not gonna go.
No.
No,
But
because we have that
I
on
think
all
going
the old
forward, we can.
statistics show last year compared to this
That's the running total.
year, right? I mean,
well,
Like,
the old way the
Well-
form was showed 2023 and 2024,
yes.
maybe not as accurate.
Yes, you actually checked it out and find it's not as accurate.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
But it will be.
I think the only reason I am asking is, and this is just two examples. So I was looking at 2.17 grand total holdings. And
Oh, are you talking about the annual report?
yeah.
We're not,
Oh,
we're not talking about that. We're
You're
just
ahead of
talking
us.
about,
Oh, okay.
see
The
that?
director's report.
This one.
Oh, okay, got it.
this
That one.
crazy piece of work she did, that is that crazy.
But
piece of
Tina, hold that question for,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
under new business, under the
Okay.
annual report, we want
Yeah.
to discuss that in some
Yeah.
detail.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But-
You just basically cover the program.
One last thing I wanted to point out was that the art show receptions each month, when I looked, the attendance is really high overall. So like the one in January was 225. Gift of Barb is around 300. So I think those are, those are really
Sometimes
successful.
those numbers are estimates, because
Right, they
no
can,
one was here to
right.
count actually, so it's
It
all
is an
about
estimate.
the information coming in.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
more of a guesstimate. right?
One thing we saw, we learned from some people who came, is they had lasers, so that when you entered the building, that thing counted you. And then you could put lasers on the bathroom
Yes. we-
and lasers on this library entrance. So you know who goes into the library, goes into the bathroom. Can they take the numbers? Like that counts the numbers, so we don't have to.
Yeah, but what if you have a kid that
Is
like?
that the
Oh my God.
Good, it makes us look
Clearly, if you count that way, it's automatic. Yeah. It's the-
Yeah,
not
except
always-
for, I mean,
Except
it's
for-
where we have, like, when you have events, like, on these art shows, kids come, kids,
Go
in the
back and
one way,
forth.
are constantly running in and
Yeah.
out, you know, it gets, a little nuts, so.
And also, people who are here using the library will also go and use the bathroom.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's gonna get counted. It's not just people coming
not
in off the
exact
street.
science.
Well,
using
well,
the
look,
bathroom.
I think, this is gonna be able, I love this because it's hopefully gonna tell us a story.
Yeah.
Or at least let us make educated guesses, or, more informed decisions, at least because we have some information we can work with. So I think that's the whole, thing here. And certainly for the director who's coming on board for planning and so
Yeah.
forth, there's some
Well, and plus some of the things it's not clear where we can do this or that, we can decide how we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Shauna,
And
going forward for next year, all you'll need is this.
Right.
12 of these.
We'll just keep,
Yes.
Just
yeah.
12 of those. and
Yeah.
then-
But so I also was thinking about this because just a tiny bit of this information is on here, the patron visits,
Right.
the attendance for programs, but they lump all of, they
the
don't,
visits.
you know,
They
they don't
you're
do
not
it
breaking
for
it
the
up by
program.
I think one
So-
thing from that report that is helpful is like Tina was saying, and you were saying, you can see
Right.
month to month. Like,
Yeah.
And last year's
comparatively.
totals compared to this year's total month.
But
So
I think that
It's more
there
of a bulk
is a
kind of
better,
figure.
there's a better way.
there should be a better way to consolidate both of them into
Yeah.
one, so it tells a clearer picture. I think that
Maybe
right
just
now
add
this is
that,
what it is, but
like
it
you
can
said,
definitely be.
Yeah, that's
well,
a very.
this is first generation,
Yeah.
but I'm waiting for the second generation to come out.
What's going on?
So it
Why not?
basically covers-
Great job.
and programs.
Pretty much.
Well, actually, do you mind if I ask a couple questions about this? So I was looking at the quarterly in-person statistics. And if you look at quarter four, 2024, the circulation number is down, let's say, in comparison to, I don't know. I'm gonna guess it was quarter four, 2023.
Yep.
It was down 531. And then, but the patron visits was up
Yeah.
964. Which is weird. I mean, that's really high. Like, that's way more than just our events. Oh, how is it that high? It seems very high, the patron.
Well, it could also include the event stuff. And it could be wrong, but it could.
No, it could be, but the events, like, we had more, but they had those in 2023, let's say. Maybe not as many people attended,
So-
but not 964 fewer. It's off by 964. It's almost 1,000 numbers.
Wait, you're looking at,
Quarter four,
You're-
2024.
for
versus
patron visits, right?
Yeah.
Quarter four, so it was 68,
29 versus
29.
quarter four, 2023, 5865.
Yeah.
It's almost 1,000.
high,
There's one difference that I can think of. It's not here anymore. Maybe. That's
Maybe more people go,
Maybe.
but they're not checking out books. Like circulation is down.
But
but
isn't that
patron visits
actual
is up.
books? But what about, that doesn't count electronic?
I don't know, what is circulation? Is that only books?
It's everything.
it's
That's
everything.
It's
everything.
supposed to be.
Yeah,
Supposed to be.
because you know. I mean,
That's a checkout. That's a-
Checkout,
that's a
right.
circulation.
It's an asset, so you.
Or maybe we overestimated a lot in 2024.
But just to jump ahead for a minute to what we will discuss in the report. As she went through the annual report, and which shows only last year, this year's blank to fill in, and it shows what was last year. You can't change what you reported last year.
That's all repopulated.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
you
year.
think she was off from the numbers quite a bit?
So what
Oh.
Shauna found that she can tell you in how much detail you want is the numbers in many, many cases from last year make no sense. They're either
Well, I have 40 pages of comments, so
Well,
we'll wait till we
okay.
get to that, okay? So
Just,
we
you know,
can-
when you fill out the report, you can actually click on the history. So it's not just last year's, it actually shows you the answers for the past 5 years.
okay.
So that was very telling.
So as a general observation of what she saw, clearly the person doing our annual report last year, anything from rough estimates to made up numbers
Okay,
to lies.
because even magazines, I was like, up 112, no, 112, January 25, it was 73, so it's up like 50, I'm like, we have like 2 magazines.
Clearly, she
Why are they up?
anything remotely like what Sean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, but the numbers from August on, or whenever I started doing this report,
Yeah.
past couple of months, those should be pretty accurate because I showed you Alberta, Dylan, they know how to get that information. So, yeah, I mean, and
so
those,
like magazines, this is living magazine. Somebody's
Right,
checking
so
magazines out, so maybe there was an advertisement that made people aware of the fact that they could get that.
hopefully, yeah. But that's all electronic. We don't really
that's
have it.
And all those,
The other thing
all
too
those
is that-
numbers for electronics, where you're pulling out the database out of the system,
They're accurate.
right?
Yeah, those not coming from us. The previous person put in random numbers, which could very well have been, because
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Let's just remember that the previous person, who shall remain nameless, was very distracted. So,
No, I think it's worse than that.
I do, I agree.
Well, I don't think,
It's a matter of actually.
but you really want to spend the time on it?
No,
No.
Right,
not at all.
willingness to just
Yeah.
pass it by. She also did not really discuss it with us, which she was supposed to. And so forth. So, anyway.
All right, well, thank you for straightening that out.
All right, I motion to approve.
We're not there.
Okay.
We don't have to approve this.
We don't have to.
I approve of what she's doing, but
So let's move on to the treasury report, where we do have couple things to report on.
Well, that's actually in the project finance. Oh, yeah, we
No,
do the
that's-
claim sheet.
Did you send out the treasurer's?
you have a
report?
copy of the claim sheet? It wasn't email.
Oh, yeah.
When did you
was.
send it out?
Yeah, I got it. I
Because
don't
I
know.
thought I had
It
sent
was
something.
it was in reply to Ed's initial email to everybody asking for
Oh.
reports.
You were the only one, I think, except for, says you're the only one I could find. So you did.
It was, Tuesday? I think it was. You have it?
Oh, all right, because I thought I saw something, but then when I went back to say I couldn't find it.
It might just be.
Do you have
because
an
of
extra
thread
copy,
ones.
or?
Can I look at you?
You can take this one here.
What's the claim sheet? And then January and December.
I'm all set, I printed it out.
Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't email the December. Want me to email it to you guys now?
What, I thought you emailed it.
What about December?
We're doing January, but they like, some people like to see both. Like,
Oh, that's okay. I can access it on the drive.
you sure? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so,
And it's in the minutes, right?
yeah, it's in the minutes.
Yeah, okay.
So in our operating accounts at the end of January, we had about $27,000, and in the capital improvement account, we had about 38, and that includes the deduction for bollards. For a total of
Yay.
65,000, and then our investment account, you can see that total there. Our change in market value for the past year is very good, very healthy. And you can see the total library funds.
I have a question.
Yes,
So the operating account that's the 27,000, is that to last us until,
no,
okay, what
we'll
is
cover that. We'll cover that in
Okay.
the budget.
Okay.
That's just a cover through February. Which,
Well, this-
no.
That's the money.
Yeah.
I got it,
Yeah,
pull out just in
Correct.
time. I got
So
it.
there's a whole.
Thank you.
there's a
I was
stepwise.
worried.
No, yeah, no. So, in January, our revenue was 24,378.
Let me ask you about that.
Yeah.
Now, the January revenue,
It's
is that
higher.
money we made in January or we got
That's everything. So that includes,
the tax that we take out a certain amount to have every month?
that's,
No,
no.
no.
Taxes.
It's anything that we can say,
I know, so where does that income come from?
well, that should be broken.
So that's, we received an RCLS grant in January for 20,000. So that includes that. RCLS.
Payment?
Yeah,
Was
it
it
was the, again, I'm blanking on the name. I'll email it to you. I can't remember the name. I should have put it in, but it was from RCLS for, so I made a note, because in our next year's annual report, we have to put a note for that.
Well, it says RCLS grant, received Jan, and,
Yeah,
Normally,
It's
Is
like,
this something that we applied for, the grant? Is it something we applied for?
I don't know, to be honest. It
And
was
Angel
like,
was watching over us.
yeah, like I think I was trying to think like back to when our director was here. Remember she was like, oh, remember she was happy about something? Or she left. She sent an email.
I remember discussing something about an application that was put in, but I don't remember what.
Right.
So that's
But when the funds came in, didn't it come in with like a letter or
No,
something?
it was just a check. It's just
But
a check.
there's sometimes there's a stub that comes with it that would, you know, have just like say, so to speak.
Yeah, no. I mean, if there was.
Okay, that's weird.
Oh, you know
Spring of
what? Hold on.
24.
Sorry, I didn't think about this. But I could look at the.
I mean, I'm
look at the
trying to-
image. I could look at the check.
They may not say anything, but you can find it.
Mitch, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I know you understand this. Normally, where does our monthly, like if it's at February revenue, where would that number?
That would come from operations
Yeah,
like fine.
operations, yeah.
I mean, you know,
Bullet.
create-
Yeah, so it might be like
Donations.
$5,000, not.
No.
Right, usually it wouldn't be that much.
So any source of revenue, something from our show, whatever we collect through, you know,
So it could be
yeah.
small.
Small,
Most of the
usually
time,
small.
yeah.
It's like 1,000.
That's
No,
not,
no,
that's not, of course.
I
like-
know.
The main money we get most of it in July, most of it, right? And
And they
that's
divide
when it's
it by
reported.
month.
Then, no, we don't even,
No, I don't
just
know.
get that like, we prove it out.
Okay.
But that's
The
not.
monthly revenue number is
That's
from
revenue.
Yeah, this is. a
gifts and
lot.
donations, the rowing, the thrift shop, like stuff like that.
Okay,
every
thank
month.
you.
So I found it. It's bullet aid. That's what it said.
It's
2024 bullet aid. BULLET.
Which explains nothing.
Which explains nothing, but 2024
Yeah, but-
assembly bullet aid.
So-
Was that going to
From
electronics
RCOS.
and the,
So I think this is assembly, is that what it said?
yeah, assembly bullet aid?
So I think that she may have it might be a line item that our assemblyman was able to procure for us, but I don't know if there was a specific purpose that it was for, you know, like that we were supposed to use it for. But
I was just looking up the emails in the past. This one happens to be June of 22, so it's not what we're talking about here. But she said, just one of these shares from signing we have received $1,667 in bullet aid from Senator Reichman Miller's office.
I
Oh,
remember,
so that's
Bullet
another bullet
aid
aid.
is discretionary aid money the senator can allocate. So it's not necessarily something.
I got it.
required for.
Think I might know what this is. So, who's our,
well, it was Elijah at the time. It
Yeah,
was
it's not
Elijah
actually-
Reichman Melnick.
and who
And then
came,
Weber?
Now
Now
it's
it's Weber.
Weber.
yeah. So, I don't know, Kelly was dealing with, maybe his office, and they were talking us possibly getting 20 or 30,000. The number in my head was like $30,000, you know, that they had put in for the library. And that's the money that we had gotten soon enough. We we're thinking about targeting front porch
Right.
and that. I have a feeling, but I think, Vicky, you need to follow up, that could be, that's reference to this money that just came in.
I think you're right.
So
It was
Kelly
a-
will have
Yeah,
Well, Kelly's been
Kelly-
trying to call
more.
and
Yeah,
find out what's going
now
on.
that you said that, I remember
Um,
she wanted to talk to him when they were doing the memorial. on
Well,
the
she'll be happy
year,
that
but
they
she
get, they
didn't.
sent the money over.
yeah,
Yeah, it
so
was delayed. That was like
that's my
months, right?
recollection. So I think that
It was from John McGowan.
You
McGowan.
found it?
John McGowan was the person that Kelly was talking to.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
The next person,
She called him and called him and called him, and she never got anything back. And she told me last time she spoke to the office was in November. But then when we spoke, Kelly and I and Lynn spoke, she said she was going to call him one more time.
So maybe that's
Well,
why they
I
never
don't know.
called
The
back.
only-
They're
the
like,
only- My only question here is, if it's from RCLS grant, then it might be something different.
I
So,
don't think it's, yeah, I don't think it's the John McGowan because
I think it's state, right?
yeah,
So I call, what's his name? Steven?
well, first I would go back and see,
If there's
Where the check.
when the check came in, was there anything attached to it that goes in our file for entry?
John.
Yeah, so you can
Well, I
check.
have a picture of the actual check.
Yeah.
All right,
It is
yeah, but in the
RCLS.
blue folder that, no, in the blue folder, there could be a step
There
which
could
could
be a
further
step,
identify.
yeah, all right.
right here.
So I would look there first, but
Okay.
then we can determine what this thing actually
The
is.
thing is, would we move that 20 back to the capital improvement account to save it aside, or just leave it in the operating account?
Probably was not.
No, I don't think so.
No, again,
Yeah.
I just think you just have to track it down and find it, because it could, we came through RCLS, then I would say it's not with any of the local,
Right,
Congress
that's the
people,
only
you know,
thing that's
state,
weird, yeah.
all right,
But like that, what you found from the year prior helps, because it explains what it is. So, what bullet eight is, bullet eight is, it's definitely bullet eight, so.
So can I just ask another question then?
Yeah.
If that's 20,000 of the 24,000, 4,378, I can see that some of it might have come from, thank you.
Right, so maybe if, I mean, again, I don't know if this is something that we all want to see on a monthly basis, but a couple of times Vicky, you had Susan, run the P&L and the balance.
I run that, that's how I fill
Yeah,
this
so
out.
that might be helpful because it has the detail, and then this way we would be able to.
Yeah, usually I just call out, because it's such a minimal amount usually, I just call out if something's higher, like that 20,000, or a gift or donation, or the thrift shop sometimes, that's
Right.
periodically like 4,000, so that kind of, but most of the time it's
a lot less.
operations, it's,
Fines for the books.
gift of art is in there, like just
Money
the
from the
summary.
thrift shop, stuff like
Yeah, the monthly
Yeah,
art
gift of
show.
art is, and
Yeah.
that's mainly it, gift of art. And
Yeah, I
then
mean, that's of the 4,000, I think.
Give and give.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
So we can move on to the claim sheet.
Okay.
Well, I do have, at the bottom of the summary, as we already referred to, the annual field donations total came to 9,026, which is great.
Yes.
That is great. Rose for the gift of art, 444. It's an unusual number.
Yeah.
Can you explain
is
to
that-
And
is
then
that on the
Ironwood is
report?
the last. Oh, that's all in the treasure report, yeah, so we can move on to.
It's a weird number. John had got a check for $8.66. Is that just a reimbursement
Probably
for
right.
stamps or something?
Can I ask you again, why some of them say negative?
Because they go against
That's the
balance.
taxes paid. but-
Yeah, so if it's negative, that means it goes against a positive. Like, it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Well, like
We're looking at
it's a
gross
positive, I
numbers and then that's the tax taken out.
Yes.
Taxes taken out.
Well, like if I look at the front page, the M&T Bank, there's an expense, M&T Bank, negative 5064.
So that means it's like cash back from card or something, you know what I mean? It's not really a negative, because everything on here, if you don't see a negative, it
Right.
is a deduction.
Yeah, it's a
So
deduction.
if you see a negative, that means it's going back.
There's
It's a
something to
positive.
return.
Deducting a negative number becomes a positive.
Right. So like that would be against an operational expense. So if it would be like getting the cash back from the credit card, maybe. You know what I mean?
Okay. The Mariposa Catskill Library System, why are there two? fees for
That's
that?
not, that's just how it's 4 different things. Like if I pull the folder, you see the invoices, but that happens
So it's same day checks, two different checks, two different weeks.
because they
We
were
break
paid
it
at the
down.
same.
And what were we paying them? Was that like courses people took or something?
No, we owe them money for all their services.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
they were
sometimes it's
charging
just
okay.
All the other-
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
electronic stuff, ordering books. And being able to say that we're part of their system.
And then
Right.
paychecks, the same thing. It's the paycheck invoice. There were 2 fees.
Yeah, same thing. Like they're two
One's
different
at the
Well,
companies.
so that's
Right.
actually something that we have to look into because one of the we pay a regular monthly fee for their services, but then back in December, we contracted them to do a 3-month. So that's something I have to check on, yeah,
right.
because it's supposed to end the 3 months. But how much did we pay for that in one lump sum back in December? Okay,
So,
No,
Sure.
we're gonna have like, no, we were gonna be charged in,
each month for the 3 months.
there was 1 month, we were at 3 months, but there was 1 month we were charged, I don't know, middle month, so I forget when it started. Like the course we're gonna be, right, it was gonna be, total cost was gonna be broken out. Was it gonna be, well, it wasn't broken out by 3,
Okay,
because in one of the months, skip a month, and so it's gonna be paid in the first month, and I think the third month.
okay.
I don't remember the
total?
details.
6 or 7.
Oh, no.
I think it was like
I
an
don't,
additional.
I'd have to go,
I have it written down. I don't have it.
I just don't remember. No, it was reasonable at the time, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like
1400 something.
1400.
In
So,
the future, is
somewhere-
that the library director, right? The library director will check. Will they be checking this and say, wait, no, I already paid that? Because like, we don't
Yeah,
know.
Yeah, they're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
The
They're
new,
gonna be
the new
tied to this.
director, even though I haven't spoken to that person yet, is gonna tell us exactly what this is.
Yeah, because
You
they're the
know,
ones that are
exactly.
buying,
and
they're
know
the
this
ones that
stuff inside and out, right?
they're the ones that are doing it
So,
every day.
All right, so the equipment leasing Atlantic Aid program of
Yes.
the lounge,
That's the copier.
that's a copy.
Yep.
Of the new one.
Okay.
Ironwood Designs, that's the gardener.
Yes,
Does she come now in January?
That's her invoice for the fall. It's like twice. I
Oh.
think she invoices twice.
And
What
then,
was what was Ironwood?
That's what's her, Mary Ann.
landscaper, Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen. I just forget her. Mary Ann.
but she already came in the fall and this is like,
This is her invoice.
well, what
her
happens
second
is for
She
contract,
doesn't invoice until after the quarter
She
is
needs money
over,
back.
after she's done all the fall work.
when they're slowest, so if they can defer payment and get it in January, February, it makes it easier for them tax wise, and they have a little money when it's cold out and when it's working, you
Right.
know, so.
Got it.
well,
Trades are the secrets, trades are
Yeah,
the secrets of the
secrets of the
trade.
Secret
and Ed's plumbing and heating, 475. Did we?
So
What'd
I'm-
you do?
It's your side gig.
We did or,
There was a
was there a
repair,
problem?
yes,
That's
it
what
was
I
a
was
repair work.
And the thing about using heads too is, we're probably gonna make a change to that, because I think it's about to retire, so.
Okay.
And we're still using Vanguard?
That's the last
I
one.
think we got the last payment
Oh,
on the
yeah.
really? You
commission.
talked to them?
Yeah, I ended the contract.
Yeah, because it's
The
a
cleaner?
500 a
Yeah.
day. The orange and rock one, I noticed it's up 400 from December. I mean, it was cold
The
this
heat's
month.
on,
Yeah.
and we don't have the, we don't have the thermostat locked, so, you know. The
So
warning, but I
next
don't think
month's
that
bill will be
thermostat.
higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? You
I got CXM Graphic Studio.
That's the signs.
Oh, just that, wow, yeah, that's a new place, okay,
No, that's the same thing. But
Oh,
we
I
did the
did a different
t-shirts
one.
and all.
okay,
You did a different one.
yeah.
But the
Um,
one that we did for the extra ones. At the same place as the t-shirt.
I noticed Jessica Kesselman, just curious, did anyone go to it? Tuesday?
Well, you can actually check
If
your,
you're
I think
looking
it
at
says
attendance,
her,
Yeah.
yeah,
It was limited.
it was,
She's had a waiting
so,
list.
yeah, there were 13 who were actually paying, but I think that there were more people registered because there was a wait list.
That's all I got.
As an aside here, can I just address some of this, because I had a conversation with John. And the issue is that some of the people that, some of the program people, providers, they want to get paid immediately. As soon as it's done, they want to check it.
Oh.
There was another night on the last, on Bill Batson presentation, of he and what was her name, Mary, with him. She also wanted to be paid, but she never presented an invoice. She never presented anything, and just gave her a check
Yeah.
for doing this. I
Not,
told
not by John, but by.
Alexis.
Yeah.
Yes, just gave her the thing. So I don't know if she talked to you. She asked me.
Wait. Alexis is writing out checks to people?
No.
She just
The
scanned
check
it
was
into-
prepared for her,
Oh, but she didn't do an invoice.
but she didn't do an invoice.
That's not acceptable.
Right. So I told John, never, if you guys feel different, but I said, one, if you don't get an invoice, the provider doesn't get a check. Okay, and there's no reason why
if they don't-
that they must be paid immediately when the presentation is over. You know, it just puts an extra burden on us. We don't know if it was actually completed or not the night before. And to do it, there's no reason why they can't. I think our
It's
standard
stress on
policy,
John.
you get, that's right, exactly. So they submit an invoice, all right, it goes through our regular processing, we cut them a check. It's usually they'll get it 2 to 3 days because it goes right in the mail. She cuts a check, but we have all the documentation we need to do it the right way.
And now she won't reply.
Now it puts John in the position, or Alexis in the position, of having to chase down the provider and spend additional time. So it just, should be made known. You're going to do a presentation, you'll get paid within 2 to 3
Yeah, you guys
days.
bring your bill with you.
Do they sign the invoice or whatever at the presentation? They just sign it and hand it to you? And
You
then
can
you
give us
pay
an
them?
invoice before the presentation, you just don't pay it
Okay.
until the presentation, but they can prepare an invoice.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
Bill
just
did. So
email it,
Bill
yeah.
followed the direction and he emailed her an invoice ahead of time and that was great. So he got the check the right way. Because she keeps a stub and then he keeps a stub. But I think with the woman, she kept everything or signed. Just something.
No, she just never did. So,
And she never sent an invoice, right?
right. So anyway, I just.
As a
Thank
mistake.
you. Thank
So,
you each
are
for
we
putting,
ready?
Any
Yeah.
more questions on the claim sheet?
Sorry.
Name sheet looks, name sheet looks good to me.
Okay.
From somebody to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Then she makes the motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ann is gonna second, because she has her input. All those in favor?
I have to wait.
Yes.
I do, I don't need to be
Aye.
here.
Any opposed?
You have to say
You
aye.
can't be both in favor then vote.
I'm sorry, I just do have one other thing. I think that this question was asked, but I didn't hear the answer about the paychecks, the $1,000 thing. Is that for the personnel evaluation and policies that they're doing for us? And so that's that $1,000?
That's what
Most
she
likely,
wanted,
yeah, but I'm gonna check on that. 'Cause,
Okay, yeah, because I also thought it was going to be like 600 and whatever it is, it's worth it. But I just was a little confused about that. Thanks.
That director will help us next time.
Okay, I put the T-bill, the investment stuff.
Oh, you put it here?
in the Treasurer's
Okay.
report, because you have your own, you're not a committee, you know, so
True.
it's in here.
I could lump
So
it
you can-
together. So,
Go ahead.
okay, so an update from the Budget and Finance Committee, is that we had approximately,
This is what you were asking.
yeah, about the funds.
That's why I came off. So I was always like, what was that?
Well,
Sorry.
What happened? What's going on?
Nothing yet.
Oh, okay.
So we had, we reinvested 152,000 from our previous T-bill that came due in
Which was how much?
January, which was what was it?
230, 230.
No, 240.
Okay.
And we did that so that we could put 35,000 each month, starting for March, to cover March and April, in our operating account. So that our operating account as of today is higher than 27. So it covers.
What was in there, you know, February, now we have too much.
But we're drawing from our investments to do that?
Well, we did, that was from our original
That was
budget
from our
anyway.
original
Put stuff in the T-bills, these guys put stuff in the
The
T-bills,
first one now,
earns money.
this is from the tax money.
It was,
we get
okay, that's what I
in-
mean.
Because otherwise we have
Yes.
500,000
So the
sitting in
income
checking.
into nothing.
Yeah, no, I love it.
So then the other piece of this, she'll say in
No,
30
no, no,
seconds, is in April, some more comes in.
So
That's
then
been
we'll,
held earning interest. Some of that will then go fund June, July, May and June.
I was on the committee when we made that decision. I said, thank you, I got, I was worried.
so no need to worry, we're
Okay,
good.
Very good.
And we also left about 20,000 in the money market with LPL. So that's not tied up in a T-bill. If God forbid,
We
we
need some
need
money.
extra, we have that available.
Thank you for doing all that. Yeah,
And it's earning almost 4% interest. That's a big, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a big, yeah, plus. Um,
As opposed to Chase's .01.
point, right, Sarah was like, it's like point something.
Yes.
Like, it might be more, because it's all secured, it's different things included in there.
good job with that.
So we're good. And then in April, when we have 2 other T-bills coming due, we'll discuss again and go by the similar guidelines to get us through June, right
And
before the
Then we
money.
can
July.
We'll get money.
Next year's. So for quite a few years, that money was just sitting.
Stagnant.
Yeah,
There's no
and then just like
repayment.
dwindling
Well,
down.
Yeah, there wasn't any interest available.
54 cents. So, but now you
Yeah, Ed Nelson asked me about that. I was at his house putting a railing back from the hospital. I asked him how everyone is. And he said, how you guys doing? I said, doing good. And he goes, you guys have plenty of money, right? I said, oh yeah, we're good. Good people running the show. Okay.
Should have said no, can you donate?
Yeah, he does, those guys are pretty generous. So we'll make sure that we hit them up every year. All right, what's next?
So that concludes that. We don't need a vote.
Vote on it.
That's more
That's more
FYI.
But the main thing for the board to understand, finance and regular investing as much as we can, putting as much in interest bearing and keeps moving it as those.
And all of that is in the drive. Which reminds me, I have to put that last transaction in there, but it's all in the drive if you want to follow along, and I can go over that.
Okay, so that brings us to committee reports. And the first report is the search committee. which is Ann, Nancy, Sean, and I. And what we have to report is that we have 2 candidates who we want to bring forward to the full board.
Wow.
We had a third who we were impressed with. She was the last one in, and then a day or 2 later, after I told her she was a finalist, she said she wanted to.
Oh,
And
She said what, Ed? I missed that.
well, I'm sorry, she wanted to withdraw
Oh, okay.
her name, and my guess is, she lives somewhere between 50 and 60 minutes
Oh.
from here.
Oh.
She lives out by West Milford,
yeah, that's
and that's where
far.
she's been for a long time. That's where she's been a library director and so forth.
Yeah.
She was very
Wait,
complimentary.
New Jersey?
Yeah.
Where are lives going?
Originally
Oh.
Connecticut.
Closer than that,
Oh,
she was
Oh,
right above.
Worcester Ridge, yeah.
above Richmond.
That's what you want to, it's
Or
her new
Hawthorne.
address.
Well, no, it's
Oh. All right, I was
it's a
just
baseball card store. I guess. So my guess is that she thought about if she's been there that long, she's probably not wanting to. She has she works out there now, so she probably withdrew for that reason. She didn't say why she just wanted to draw it. So we have 2 people who we want to bring forward, and they know that the next step is to. They've been told they're finalists. The next step is to meet with the full board. And does everybody understand the process we've done so far? First Zoom, followed
Yeah.
by
Yes.
2-hour walk around. Okay.
Yep.
So since we only have 2, we should probably try to do these interviews. We need to do these interviews sooner than later,
Sure.
just to keep momentum.
Right.
And because we want to get this
Yeah.
result.
You want a director?
Yes.
Obviously.
So one of the things we need to do is find out who's got what availability this week. But a first question would be, do we think we could do these interviews, like the previous interviews during the day? Do we think we can get all of us or enough of us together during the day, or do we need to do it at night?
I mean, I think we could do it during the day. I don't know.
Better during the day. Thank you. Or more flexible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just have to take a little time.
Well, you can do it. You can do it by Zoom. We can set it up so that you don't have to come
Yeah,
in.
you guys could zoom in.
Yeah, and you guys could Zoom there too, so that you'll hear
Right.
we'll sit in the conference room with the door closed. These will be executive sessions. So we should be shooting for next week, but how do we want to do this to see if Monday, Tuesday, whatever, want to have people tell us when they can't meet or how? You do the extra
Well, I
Zoom,
think
so-
so
Wait,
next week is
school
the
break.
school break, and
Oh.
you're gone all week.
Yeah.
You're gone Thursday, Friday. I'm
Tuesday,
gone.
Wednesday.
Oh, and I'm gone Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh dear.
So
Next week is tough.
it is,
We'd be almost
Yeah.
all Zoom.
and I know you want to
Yeah.
carry the momentum, but I think if you want us all,
At least be able to. I
Well,
don't
if
even
you're
know.
gone, I don't think it works as well if we have more people on Zoom.
Yeah, no.
Right, I
It
agree.
needs to be
I mean, it is President's
5 or
Week. I
6
mean,
of
maybe
us.
are they definitely available?
On Monday?
Monday's
Well,
President's.
I know that one candidate said he's available Monday, Tuesday, and then the other person, she did not give me her availability yet, so I think she's waiting to hear from us, so.
Oh,
Well, can we ask her? Yeah.
I've found, because there are a lot of us and they are just one person, it's better if I say,
Here's
These are the
Here's
2
the day.
dates.
are you available this day at this time?
Right.
And then they will come back and say something
When are you
else.
guys all leaving?
I'm leaving tomorrow night.
Or you're leaving tomorrow?
So it's already, Wednesday of this week. Why not set it up for the following Monday? If
That's
this,
what we're
I mean,
headed.
it's soon enough, isn't it?
24.
Yeah, it'll go quick. And I don't think they'll. Hopefully,
Because
Well,
if,
we're gonna have to just let them know that
You mean
next
the
week is bad because we're
Yeah.
away, so.
24th or 24th.
February 24 or 25.
Yeah.
Like it's a week and a half.
Well, what's wrong with,
Because it's the school break next week.
no, I understand. What's wrong
Right.
with Monday, the 24th?
That's what I'm saying. Monday,
Okay.
How is
That's
everything?
We'll make it happen.
I'm good.
So we're all available?
I'm good. I'm
Everybody's
available anytime.
I can make
Okay.
it. Yeah.
During the school day, or, I mean, during the day, or?
During the day.
I think during the day is better.
Yeah,
during the
during
day,
the
let's
day.
do it during the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Or I
let's,
mean, like,
let's hope they're
to get
available
into
during
it.
this.
Okay.
We're gonna
What
do
about our?
both
what
of them
about
the same
since
day?
Well, I think I'm picturing these being roughly an hour. I don't think they're 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
I
this-
think that-
And
You guys already spent time with
We
them.
did.
Yeah,
so
you guys
most
already
of these
spent a
are
lot.
asking questions.
here's what they did when we brought them in face to face. We scheduled roughly 2 hours and they ran something like that. We first walked them around the library so they could see it, and we're talking while we're walking around. Then they sat with us, the search committee, for an hour, at least, or an hour and some. And then we had them sit with Nancy, so she was in the interview. Nancy, John, and Alexis, and said, these are the three people.
Yeah, these are the
That
people.
are the library. These are our three people who've been doing this, and they're
That was-
we're working pretty well, and credit to them, and blah blah blah. And so they talked to them, each one of them for at least a half hour.
Well,
It's great.
I think this, yeah, so it's gonna be 24th. I think if we get our correspondence then tomorrow, we won't lose one minute,
Right.
when they don't hear.
Right.
I mean, we
So they
say
can
we
block
just
it
can't
out.
get enough people. Don't want
Yeah,
to.
I
We need
think
enough
that's-
of us together to.
Yeah.
So we basically. And let me just ask while we're here, is everybody also available the 25th in case they're not available?
In the after 12, after 12:30, yes.
Well, I think generally these would be better after.
Okay.
I have to be free at like 3:30.
Yeah,
I know it's also possible that we would have to do these.
As
Two
of now.
consecutive days. We can arrange it to be one after the other, but we're still gonna need to leave some time in between.
Yeah,
So that
It's
it's
a
a
little
little
bit-
before the next one.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock.
Yeah, something like that.
If we be done by 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have
both
to-
interviews, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah, 'cause
one
we
would
don't-
be at 12, probably 12 to 1,
If
maybe
it
a
lasts a
little
little longer,
over,
don't mean it's.
then the
don't
others
have to have a
2
hard
till
cutoff, But we'll
3.
try to
Right.
set it up so that it's
Yeah.
about that long. And I will say about these, what you can say about themselves in the search. These are not just interviews. This is recruiting. We need to be selling ourselves as much as we are. It's both. And give them a chance to ask us questions.
Yeah.
But I think we've done a good job of that so far.
Yeah.
And it's been very conversational. So,
Can I just ask one question? What is the range of age?
I don't even know. I don't
Wait,
know.
I'd say they're both.
No, I wouldn't ask that. Yeah, just
Late
one.
thirties, early
Okay.
Yeah,
forties. These are both experienced people.
yes.
Let me tell you, we'll send you their information. One is an assistant director, started to say Portugal, Tuxedo Park, which is about the same size as our community. You know.
Yeah.
I just drove by.
Did you?
Yeah, we're driving north and the library is a really small building, smaller than ours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
tiny and it's a very old building, pretty.
Oh, yeah, Tuxedo Park is
It's
beautiful.
tiny.
It's got a very
But they have a
wealthy.
director and an assistant.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
the assistant.
Yeah,
in the
she's
library.
assistant director, and she said the director has an office of her own in the small building.
It's like a whole, like in the basement.
It's one of our goals.
Space for other staff.
Yeah, she's
She
used
said
to
she's
sharing
fine with that,
space.
whatever. And then she was in Oakland, which is a much larger
Right.
New Jersey,
Yeah.
for 8 or 10, for a good time before
Before
that. So she's had a larger library experience than this.
That's great.
And,
She kind of made like a natural.
yeah, what
this
this
makes
move would be
sense.
for her is she wants to be a director.
And does she
Yeah.
live in 60 Park?
Yes.
It's
Oh,
not too far away.
Well, that's
No,
not as
no.
bad.
Tuxedo Park is even wealthier than Elaine.
Is it really?
I have a lot of my friends that are up there.
You know how wealthy I am.
Yeah. Oh,
So then
Very
the
good
other person,
representation.
this guy is in the Brooklyn Public Library, of which there are many, many branches. He's a branch manager of a branch, and I think there's something like 20 or
yeah,
25 branches in addition to the main big.
Right.
right.
And so he's, but such a different situation because that's a huge organization.
Yeah.
So it's not like this is a small community part. I mean, it's got to be just a part of Brooklyn.
Right.
Yeah.
5
Right,
blocks away
like
is another
10
library.
block
Right.
radius,
That's
yeah,
still
yeah.
a very situation. He is from Glen Rock, New Jersey, grew up in Glen Rock, and his first job was in the Glen Rock Library. Now that also is a much bigger community than this
Yeah.
library, but so part of his interest is being in the smaller situation.
And they both have the credentials to be directed.
Yes.
I think in both cases, I mean, Tuxedo Park I think Tuxedo Park is an easy enough drop.
Yeah.
Nancy used to go out to suffer.
Glen Rock's not
Yeah.
too far.
The Bronx, this guy lives in the Bronx, works in Brooklyn.
He worked way out of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like the last
So
stop.
he
on
already
some
commutes.
Brooklyn
So he's
train.
got, well, yeah, I mean, I thought, yeah, it's on the subway. No, you can be on the subway for
Oh, yeah.
It's over.
To get from
So-
the Bronx to Coney Island, it's like an hour and a half.
Miles, where he lives in Brooklyn, we're closer to the
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
Bronx than
Yeah,
it is
100%.
from the Bronx.
100%.
The Bronx suits
When
you.
when I went to college, because that's how I spent my
So it's an issue with this guy will be, he does not have a car now. He has had a car. But,
It's the
so
city.
he got here for the by taking the bus from his apartment to the GW Bridge bus station.
And
He
then
got
come
on the
across.
Getting the bus.
I
So
gave
he's
him a
resourceful.
ride back to the bridge, so he didn't have to wait for a bus.
That's nice.
But I forget how much time he said it was. But
It's
over
probably like an hour now.
But
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
you just
Yeah,
take
but
like
that's-
an Uber?
Well, that's, I mean, yeah, he's probably only 35 minutes by car.
If he had a car.
No, but you could then get on the metro, right?
Yeah, but you gotta stop to
You
wait
take
for
the
the
train
bus.
to the Bronx.
Whatever. Anyway, if
TNC.
he doesn't have a car, that's a pretty awkward, I think.
I mean,
Is
He
he
could have the
planning on
best-
getting?
no, I think he would have to
He said
commit,
that when-
he would have to get a car
He wouldn't roll
because if he doesn't,
It's not like.
it's not,
It's not.
he won't be able to fulfill mission.
Well, and the all
that
power
position.
things and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not too, but so that clearly will be an issue.
Yeah.
But they both are experienced people.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But that's the only
These
break.
Look like good career moves for them. I tried to look, I didn't get anywhere looking up the salaries of
Where they work.
library branch directors in Brooklyn. I mean, that's got to be.
Gotta be somewhere.
So we may have a month already. He's been a branch man, several branch managers, several different
You
branches.
should have him fill out an application. They start,
Well,
you
yes.
can ask current salaries.
So anyway, those are the two candidates.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Did you look up either of their like LinkedIn profiles or any of their social media presence?
I haven't.
That's something we should probably do as a group, just to see, just part of the process.
Yeah.
Well, another question, do we want to ask them for references?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we can ask and see what they give us. I don't think that it's a very useful process other than to see what you get. Nobody gives you references if somebody's going to make that reference.
Right.
So I don't know how
Do
useful.
they put references available
We didn't,
on
well,
request?
I don't either said it, but I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. Can't hurt.
And we can't on our own go ask their current employers how they are.
Right, no, they have to tell them ahead of time
Now, if they told their current employer
that
they're
they're
looking for,
looking, yeah.
and we, with
Then
their
they would have
permission, we
already
could go talk to.
paid
Yeah.
them.
Even even when you do that, again, nobody says anything.
Right.
It's a funny process.
Yeah,
All right, so.
but they might have blowing, so that would help.
Yeah.
Well, they're almost always.
Well, not unless it's like, yes, we can verify things.
Have you ever read?
Yeah, right.
Which is what we do.
Right, exactly.
Have you ever read any endorsements?
All right, so I looked up the average salary for Brooklyn Library,
Yeah.
whatever, 104,000.
What branch?
For an assistant director?
Says public library.
Well, he's a
That-
manager.
That could be the main.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah,
He's a
no, we need
manager.
a branch.
He's a branch
He's
manager,
a
Branch.
manager of a branch.
so it would be branch. See if there's a.
Now, another issue with this guy is, one of the things I think we want to ask him about is that he's got a boss, not a board.
Yeah.
In a structure, in an organization,
Yes,
that's a
very
large,
different.
complex organization, so he reports to somebody. The Tuxedo Park person has a boss, the director, who reports to a board. But she
Right.
doesn't directly report to.
Right.
All right, the average annual pay for a library manager in New York City is 80,000, roughly 80,000.
So that says library manager then.
So as a library manager though, and as a branch manager, even though he has a boss, does he manage other people? I would assume.
Oh,
he
yeah,
does.
yeah, he
Yeah.
And-
manages the branch.
Okay,
They
so he
report-
has direct reports.
Yeah, absolutely, he has direct reports. What I'm saying is that instead of him reporting to a
Gotcha.
board, he
Right.
reports to a boss, a person,
Yeah.
Yep.
so.
Okay.
All right, so anything else we should discuss about the process?
I don't know if we can do this now, but comes time to when we vote.
Yeah.
I know when you had shared with us,
Just a suggestion for how, like, when we're talking about the candidates afterwards, so that one or two of us do not dominate the conversation and push our agenda, that, we could do something where we listen to each of them, interview each of them, and then we rank,
our
which
choices.
one, yeah, our choices. And then we have a discussion where maybe the committee could also tell what they saw during their interview process. Have a discussion, and then we vote again, rank again, and see what the turnout is. Just so that everybody gets a chance to say their opinion. This is what my husband said they do at Columbia, to try to be fair so that one person who really wants this one
That
candidate
person,
doesn't dominate the conversation. What?
In what kind
Like a press
of,
within the department, yeah, within departments.
I think
Sounds like a
Tina
plan.
had,
yes, Tina.
Tina had a question and then I also have a question.
Yeah, so did any of them say they have any limitations to the job itself? Like, I know that the transportation was one thing, but any other limitations, like, certain days that they couldn't work or
No,
anything
we
like,
asked all that. They all seemed very amenable to everything.
okay, there wasn't like any like, I can't work on a Friday afternoon because I'm observant or any of that stuff?
I didn't hear anything like that. I think they may have concerns about, and what we're just telling them is there are only full-time employees. Full-time is defined as 35 hours a week, but it's defined as a minimum 30. It's not really, but we gotta be out
On
of.
site.
Well,
On
it's
site,
it's on site, but also this is a professional managerial job, not a punching the clock job, counting hours that way. So,
Salary.
if they stay till 9 o'clock in our board meeting with us one night, they don't come in at 9 o'clock in the morning. But it's their job to make sure that they have coverage, so forth. And you want them here on weekends, if weekends, and so forth. So,
Somebody
that was
asked that.
discussed.
Somebody asked
One
on
of them,
Sundays,
yeah.
One of the candidates
asked
did
how often.
ask
Or
more
on
specific
Sundays.
details about what our expectations are of the director for events that happen on the weekends or at off hours.
Beyond 9 to 5, could they balance their time?
And the answer to that is yes, they have flexibility in coming, because they manage the schedule. They're the ones who have to make
Right.
sure we have staff in the
Coverage, yeah.
library coverage as we need it. And we're not asking them to work 50 or 46 hours a week, or, but there may be some weeks where they work more hours and other weeks where they don't. And we're not going to keep track of comp time. Again, they're on an annual, the key thing is they're on an annual salary, not an hour salary.
Right.
But I would say that's a good question to ask again
Yes,
in
absolutely.
your interview process, so that you get a sense of how they do it.
Yes.
So to Anne's point about, process during the interviews, I just think it's a very good idea for us to ask the same questions in both interviews, so we can have a basis of comparison for their answers. And I was wondering if the screening committee initially did that, and then also, do you have questions for us to ask them? In other words, I think it would be a really good process, since there's so many of us. Maybe we all don't ask a question, or however you want to do it. But I really agree that it's important to have compare apples to apples. So we have to have certain questions that we ask to each candidate to compare their answers.
We did that loosely, but we didn't assign questions.
Well, our first short ones, yes, we had the same questions.
The Zoom,
The Zoom
Zooms
one,
were
we
pretty
asked the same
strict.
questions, yeah.
Except one guy didn't follow our script. We said, Shauna said some things to introduce it, and then said, so, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And they knew this was supposed to be a 20-minute Zoom. So I think it was the first guy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The very first one we conducted. She says, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And he went on the full, more than the 20 minutes. The 20 minutes. That alone
Tell you where you're born and raised.
Okay.
That would be me. That would be me. I'd be like, well, right. My mother was born here. My father was born here.
Couldn't even map where he took us in 15 minutes.
So
we did have packed questions.
But we did, yes, I mean, we did break down, we had general topics. And then we
okay,
had
so
assigned who was going to ask those particular questions. But in the actual interview, because we wanted it to feel more like we were having a conversation, so anyone of us really could answer those questions, ask those questions. So,
okay,
but I do
how
have,
do you think it should go for this last round? Because I would prefer it to be like a little bit. First of all, Shauna, can you move forward to the table so we can see Ed a little bit?
sorry.
Okay, no, don't move back, Ed. We now can't see you. All right. So no, it's fine. You don't have to shift everything around. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really think
Sarah, you and I are a lot alike.
Yeah,
I needed to have the structure. And
Well,
so we
also
came
the
up with
final-
categories. And we said, you ask the questions from this category, just because otherwise you're gonna sit here writing questions now.
I agree, and I just think it's really important in this final interview to ask some really hard, like I had said this a while ago, and maybe we don't need to make it so intense, but like almost where they have to do like a bit of a presentation of what their first 90 days are going to look like, and so that we can kind of compare. This is a management position. They're managing a community library. So I don't know if we want them to come into this interview with something that's going to, be almost like a presentation for maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes of the presentation of the interview. And then we have a couple of very pointed but open-ended questions to get a feeling for them, and I think they should be the same questions. So
I have a couple of thoughts on that. One thought I've had, which we haven't really discussed on it, is I think a good first thing is for them to start off with a presentation of some sort, for two reasons. One, it gives, to me, it could relax them a little bit because they know that's the first thing that's going to happen, and they'll know
Yep.
they either prepare for it or they won't. Of course, smart, they will prepare for it. But rather than say something like, tell us what you're going to do, I think we should leave that very open, not give them too much and see how
Let
they
them create
handle.
something
Let's say
from scratch.
that you can start with about 10 minutes worth of what you know.
Yeah, what's your
What do you
vision?
want the rest of the person?
Right, I mean, what's your vision for the library?
But I'd like them doing some kind of presentation to us to start, and then asking, like one of the questions on we'll draft some questions and pass them by everybody. But
Okay.
one question I would ask is, when you're the manager and you're reporting to a board, you have to make decisions about what you think. You have to know what the board has to have approval on, but you also have to decide what the board should know. And how are you going to do that? Something to get them to talk about that, because clearly we had somebody who didn't see the relationship to the board that way. And in any job I've ever been in, I needed to know what my boss was required to know, what I thought he or she needed to know. Actually, it was always
You needed to know.
well, I'm that age. But that as a manager, besides managing down, you have the responsibility to know how to manage the people above you. And so I think, to me, that's the kind of thing I would like to hear them talk about without much lead from us and what that looks like.
Okay.
So we can
I
draft
also-
some questions like that and pass them by all of you.
Yes, please. Yes, please. And I think another important question to ask, which you may have already asked this in the other interview, but I think we'd probably like to hear, is like, how will they connect with the community? What is their approach
Well,
to connecting with this small community? And maybe that's what they should do the presentation on.
I think that's another one that should be asked of all. And we didn't really do that way with them in these. What we got a lot of in these, especially the interview, is we'd ask a question and their answer would be, well, in my previous library we did, or my current library we did that. And a lot of those were interesting stories, and we learned a lot of, heard some things we hadn't thought of before and so forth. But I think this is more, tell us how you're going to approach. We have landed on the notion that we want to be that much more related in the community, and that they got to be the face of the library and so forth. So
I do think, though, just a heads up, that almost everybody answered the questions, like open-ended ones, very similarly. Like, first I'd find out what organizations are in the community, then I would try to, they know what they need to do. They were all pretty much at the same, So it's not like
well, I think we need to find a way to ask it a little bit better than we asked it.
Okay.
Well, I think
We
if you formulate questions, give feedback, come up with
Well, that's good. Then we have a little time.
Oh,
So we just spend
You can
next
even-
back and forth. This way we'll be prepared.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave it to you, but you're gonna share that.
I think everybody should have the onus on their shoulders, because we know the importance of it. And at the same time, I think you don't want to scare the people away.
Right.
The one woman
And he
we
also don't want to
lost
be redundant.
was.
I don't want to ask the same
was pretty
question
strong.
you asked.
I don't know why she did, maybe because of the distance she decided not to.
She was very complimentary about it.
She was.
She was actually the only candidate, though, who had many years' experience as a library director,
Yes.
3 different libraries. So I think
She
she
didn't hold it
knew
down?
what she was going into. No,
Yeah.
her last job was for many, so I think she had a very clear understanding of what this job would need. And
Yes.
that's why she said, this is actually not the
Not
best
a good
fit
fit.
for me. Yeah, so,
Did we discuss, do they already know kind of what the salary bracket is?
Just,
yeah,
we gave you in the.
it's in the description.
In the description of the job. With
70 to 85.
Okay, so that may be, she may have been making more than that already, and have a long-term job. Take a lower salary, I've been doing it so long.
But she made it pretty far.
Yeah.
So
But
maybe
she
it was
has,
just-
that's why she
Was leaving.
stepped, for
Yeah.
each of them, We can talk about
Oh, yeah.
All right. So it's 20 to 9. Just
Okay.
saying.
Buildings and grounds.
Don't worry, Sarah, we're about 40% through.
Sarah, we only have snow and cold to go back to, so.
All right, I just one last question about this. Do you guys want to, I mean, is there any value in you guys like writing a little couple of bullet points about your impressions of each one, or should we go into this kind of cold and then reconvene afterwards?
What I think we could do is I'll share the resumes and the
Yeah,
cover
sure.
letters with you.
I
Yeah,
think
so you can read
I
that,
think it's
but-
important that you not know what we think.
Okay,
Right. Yeah.
agree. Okay, great, thank you.
All right, building and grounds.
Okay, so we had the electricians here last week, and they did about 95% of the work. They're still waiting for parts for the lights in the office. We have 2 new lights over the desk though, and the blinking's got stopped.
Great.
They are gonna fix the one switch, Mitch, that you pointed out stuck over here. And they're gonna replace all the bulbs, in addition to what they originally said, with all the bulbs and the bulb lights. So they're finding LED replacements for those.
So ballast, we mean,
They're taking the ballast out, and reset them to one thing, put an LED bulb, so it will be completely, including the utility closet, which we did not have on the original list. That's gonna go to LED, so we'll be completely LED by the time we're done. So I'm thinking they're gonna be here finishing up next week. They're waiting for the parts for the 4 ballasts they didn't have. Tina, Kelly, and I got together on Zoom, and we started discussing long-term plans for the budget and the information you guys need for budgeting and finance. We're gonna do it, we were supposed to meet at the library on Sunday. As a matter of fact, Sean, I forgot to key down, but I can drop it off at your house tomorrow. But it snowed and I couldn't get free to come down and do it. So Kelly and I are gonna get together with Tina again on Zoom. And Tina has some more information on the solar panels. Did you?
Yeah.
You wanted to report a little bit about the solar panels?
Okay, so I spoke to Stephen Hoffer at RCLS, and he said that we should hire a mechanical engineer who specifies or who is an expert in the solar industry. And they would actually then give us a report about what we need. He said, before we submit anything for bids and quotes, we should have that. And he said that it's about $5,000 to hire an independent engineer. And then he said we needed to take this workshop, which Kelly and I did attend last year, but you need to take it every year in order to write any kind of grant. So there's one in April that is not mandatory, but there's another one in June that's mandatory. So I can certainly go to those. But I think that, and then he gave me 2 libraries that are in the process of getting solar panels. Gardner Library and Daniel Pierce. I spoke to somebody at Gardner. Her name was Nicole Lane. She's the director. She said that they did put an application in, but she did not, she said a board member got a quote from someone they knew, and she did not believe they hired an engineer because they didn't shell out any money yet. So she didn't know like why he said we had to hire an independent engineer. So I got the name of the person. His name is Glenn Gadaldi, and she's going to call him and ask him to call me because she didn't want me calling him directly, and just pick his brain about how things went over there. The other library, nobody answered, or I left a message. I didn't hear back from Daniel Pierce. But he did have numbers, and they had projects around 200 well, the first one had $197,000, and he said after their grants, the net would be about 60,000. And the second library was a total, and they had bigger I think they're much bigger libraries, 263,000, and he said they would probably end up spending about 78,000, like out of pocket. Also, though, that there are, less incentives now.
Yes.
Surprise. And, you can't really count on a lot of funding now, but this RCL grant, there is money there, and you'll get up to 50% of the project if, not that many people apply for the money and you have it. So it's sort of like a gamble in a way. But before I go any further, we need to discuss, do we really want to go forward with this? Are we willing to put up $5,000? I don't even know that we really need to, but that's what Stephen told me we need to do.
Well, I have a local person that just put 70 panels on her house. So I called her and left a message. She spent $1,000 a panel. Now, she has the means to do that, and she purchased it all herself. She owns the electricity she's getting from them. And she's raving that it's almost paid off already. I'm not sure how
I've
that's
heard
possible.
that any residential would basically pays it back.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know that we need an engineer, but I do know that that $190,000 sounds like double what it really should be. And then if you got, if you did it for 70 or 80,000 and you got half the money in grant money, it might be worth 30 or
Yeah.
40,000, but not for 140,000. So we have more research we have to do. That's basically
Well, I guess
what we
that's-
all agreed on.
and she already asked some of the companies how many panels they
Right,
think
well,
we would
right.
need and all that
Right,
stuff.
exactly. And that, the problem with going with just one of those companies is you're going by a recommendation of somebody that's, I mean, one guy did it by looking at the Google map picture of the
Right.
building from space. And, and that's how roofers are doing estimates and stuff too now. So, but my friend Susan is very knowledgeable, and she whenever she goes after any of this stuff, she does all her homework ahead of time. So we could gather more information.
Yeah.
And so Tina, thank you for working on that.
I hate to
So-
throw
so-
monkey wrench into it, but I have another question. I'm sorry, Tina, do you have something else you were gonna say?
I just was saying, like, as a board, are we all in favor of going forward with this?
Well, I think we have to do some more research personally. I mean, we're not going to hire anybody until we have the hard numbers.
Right, but
Right.
we all are in agreement that this will be
Yeah.
a worthwhile project.
I think it's a
Yeah.
great
Yeah, I think
idea.
I think it's
feasible, yeah.
definitely worth doing if we
Okay.
get the right numbers.
So my monkey wrench was the comprehensive plan, and Sarah, I'm hoping you know something about it. So there's a comprehensive plan for Piermont that is being considered right now. I don't know if in the plan, there was a plan for what to do with the library if this area floods. Were we among the municipal buildings that might be relocated somewhere?
I'm sure we're not. I mean, we're not.
I mean,
Well,
the village doesn't own the
No,
school.
but I do think that the library should be in consideration for, I mean, if
Wasn't
this.
there a presentation on the comprehensive plan this Friday?
It's
There was
coming
one?
up.
you can do a word search in the comprehensive plan document and look for the library. I mean, I could certainly try to look it up. But I think what people have to understand about a comprehensive plan is that, well, I'm not sure that I really want to get into it, but this is just my understanding and thoughts about this. Everything that's in there doesn't mean that it's going to happen immediately. It's kind of like a little bit theoretical, and a little bit practical, but it's, just because this comprehensive plan says that, yes, in 20 years, maybe there's going to be flooding, and the goal would be to get the village hall not on the main street. It doesn't mean that they're moving the village hall like this year.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's a long range plan, and I kind of doubt that. I'm not sure whether the library would be in it, and I think that we have to have our own long range
Yeah.
plan.
I do.
They're not a village.
If, I'm just throwing this out there, if I lived in a house that was here and I was considering whether to get solar panels, I would say, how long do I see this house staying here?
Exactly.
So is 25 years, if they're saying 2050, this area could be flooded, is 25 years a long period of time if I'm gonna put this much money into solar panels, or, I would think about that in advance.
The other thing to consider too is solar panels don't last forever. I have a friend who had solar panels by Sunbelt put on their house for free because they're renting the space from the roof. Basically, you don't get the electricity directly. You put the electricity back in the grid, and you get a break for being green, and you get a little bit of your money taken off your power. And half the panels went bad in 5 years. And you had to have the company come back and replace them. Basically, had to switch companies and got a lawyer and the whole thing. So, those were earlier generations of them as well. So now they've gotten better and they've gotten a little cheaper. But it probably will have to be changed in 10 or 15 years. So, there's no guarantee that what stays up there is going to be there for 25 years. This is a risk we take with everything that we
It
do.
is. I mean, I'm in
think it's-
favor of solar panels, but I think that we should consider the longevity.
Yeah, we have to balance it all.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. I think this is a cost benefit analysis that has to be done. Like Len said, you got to do the research, and Tina's already doing it, but we do have to understand what is it going to, what's the estimate of what it's going to cost us? And what is the benefit of doing it? Is it going to lower other costs in the long run? And again, longevity has to be factored in. So I think until we have that information, it's a little hard to say whether or not we think this is something worth doing. It
Well-
sounds like a big investment, and I'm not sure that we need it.
I agree. I'm not sure either.
Like we have solar panels, and we did it years ago. We've had no issues with them, and we do think that it's lowered our costs. We mainly did it to be green,
Right.
and so that's a philosophical thing. I don't know if we have to invest $100,000 as a library. I'm not sure that makes economical sense for us.
Well, I agree. So this is why we got to do more research.
And now I have two companies that did send me proposals, and I'm just throwing this out there, like a lot of them say that there's a warranty for like 30 years, and the inverter is like a 10 to 25-year warranty. So like you said, that the panels I think are a bit better now. And they did say like in over 10 years you would recoup the cost based on the electric bills that I sent them, because I sent a year's worth, and they gave me an analysis. So I have two proposals with analysis that's just a starting ground. I mean, there were just two companies that I just reached out to.
So, Tina, can I just ask, given what we know already,
Mhm.
if we don't go the route of trying to hire a mechanical engineer,
Uh-huh.
what additional information, Len, do we need for us to make a decision? How we say we need to do more research? What does that mean? I mean, given what we already know.
Well, I have two quotes, and they're pretty different. One said that we need 50 kilowatt hours. I guess that's the unit of measurement. I'm not even sure. And the other said we need 35, or they would generate that much, because we have a shade issue too, because we have trees on the roof, and one
I remember
side,
you said that.
yeah, I'm two people that I actually reached out to two people or two companies said they really weren't going to do it because it wasn't worth it because of the trees. If we don't get rid of the trees. The other two said, yeah, you can do it, but you might not generate like all your energy might not be recouped because you don't have enough sunlight. So those are the two things that these two companies told me. But I think that the independent persons, it's not a bad idea to see what they say, because they're not, vested in getting the job. They just are going to give us, a real.
So I guess the question is, given that we've gone up to 4, 2 said no, 2 are complete, do we then hire an independent person, or do we go for another proposal?
Right. Well, Len has a name of
Yes,
somebody.
I want to find a source that Susan may use to buy them, to purchase them directly, and the company that purchased them, and all the information about the inverter and what we would need for the supplies, and then the company to install them, because they're separate companies.
But the whole question
Is cost. Yeah.
Well, yeah, are we going to see the benefit?
Right. No, I know.
Can I call time out a minute? In the interest of time,
Yes.
let me suggest a way to frame this, which is, if we had to decide tonight, based on what you've told us, I would say no.
I would say no too, based on this tonight.
If you're going to come back with more, that should give you some notion of, do you come back? Because if we have the same discussion whenever we have it again, I would say no.
Yeah, no, based on what we know right now, it's too expensive.
Right.
But
So
so we're going to go forward with that in mind,
let's-
and we'll see. Okay.
I think the Building and Grounds Committee should, when they meet amongst themselves, they should make a recommendation to the board. Because you
Okay.
guys have the research in front of you. after you get this other quote, if you're gonna do it. And
Yeah.
you guys pour through it, and then you say, we do recommend this, or we don't recommend this. And like the 3 or 4 reasons why, so that we can synthesize it, you know?
Okay,
Sounds good.
Okay,
all right.
Sarah, fundraising.
Okay, in the interest of time, Spring Crafts Fair is the next thing coming up, May 3rd. Please put it on your calendars. It's on the library calendar. It will run from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is what we did last year. We have a call out to vendors, so please let your crafty friends and family know that they can get a table. We are going to work on repricing the tables a little bit because Anne did an analysis of the table sizes down to the inch. So we will see whether or not, we kind of tweak our pricing. But again, it's a lovely community day. And it just so happens on that day that we're also doing the Piermont community cleanup with Keep Rockland Beautiful. So I'm going to be over there, but we'll have flyers for the spring craft fair. So we'll get everybody off the pier after they clean up and come over to the crafts fair.
Can I jump in for 1 second? If anyone knows a gimmicky kind of thing that could draw people in, I'm thinking because you're following with PTA, like an animal or something that we could advertise so that people would come to the event.
Like a pet, like a.
Yes.
Well, your neighbor across the street has a donkey, so we could have her bring the donkey.
That's true.
It's true, she has a
Really?
donkey.
I was just saying that to be funny.
No,
But you actually know somebody.
I know somebody that's got a donkey.
Anyway, if you happen to
She
know what
does
they say, let
bring
us
him
know.
to events and
That's
stuff
it.
too.
That's it, we'll bring everybody here.
Yeah, if anybody can think of like a hook,
Yeah.
we probably will do a craft project with kids. If it's nice, we'll try to do it outside and then lure people in. So tying in a bunch of ideas. If anybody has any ideas, shoot us an email. We're meeting again toward the end of the month. A gift of art, we did get a little bit more money in, like, I don't know, like another $43. So we updated our numbers there. We netted 2,404 and versus 2,770 last year. So yeah, we actually just did $366 less, but we also grossed less. So we got a higher percentage of the artists' revenue, which was kind of interesting. And that's all I have.
Okay. Let's move on to new business then. There are 2 main items of new business. You guys may recall from last spring that the other libraries wanted to have a referendum, what's referred to as the 259, the new Education Law 259. So I'm not sure how much everybody understands this funding, but to frame it, that we have 2 major sources of revenue. One is we tax the Piermont residents, and that's our $300,000 in tax. That is not part of the village budget in any way. It's not influenced by the village. The only thing the village does is collect the money for us and hand us a check. There's another source of money that all 5 libraries have, which is this 259, this Education Law 259 source, where we are empowered under that law, we libraries, to have a referendum of, this would be the whole school district. Right now, the active referendum, the last referendum passed, provided for $600,000 to be raised. It's not, again, this is very parallel. It's not part of the school budget. It's collected by the school district. So it doesn't influence the school district budget. The school district doesn't influence this. So that's been at $600,000. A year ago, they talked about, I think, doubling. They were a much bigger.
Last year they wanted to double it.
Yeah. And they got sort of a bunch of things came together to have them decide not to do it then. Most of the other libraries get most of their money from the town.
Right.
Orangetown, town of Orangetown.
Not the school district.
Not
The
the
town.
school district. And in that case, it's very different from our situation. It is in the town budget. It is a line in the town budget, and the town could, for example, decide to decrease that, or they could decide to increase it. So the town's attitude about this is, if the libraries want to go out and raise some money outside of the town budget, in addition to the town budget, that does not upset the town at all.
But that has to be passed, the people have to
But it has to
agree
be voted. Yeah, no, we had, so they're proposing what the other four libraries would like to do, but we're part of this because this is the school district libraries.
Right.
And us, we're not a school district library, we're a special library district, so we're the only one like that. Right, so they're proposing to increase that by $100,000, bring it up to $700,000, which is a 25% increase.
150,000.
150,000, right? So this would be a separate referendum. The school district's interest in this would be that it not be held close to the school district vote. And that's
So
their
it's a
main.
separate vote,
It's a
just
separate
this.
vote.
Okay.
Doesn't happen on the same day. Not only doesn't it happen on the same day, the school district doesn't want it to
No,
be. on
of
the
course
same
not,
day.
because they
They
get
get this, but so this is a separate referendum. The vote would be in the libraries. In our case, we would, Piermont residents would vote in Palisades. I don't know why we would try to pass that,
maybe.
but we could, but last time we did something like this, I think we're gonna go up, we go to the Palisades. But anyway, it's a separate referendum. And then that's, that increases more than 2% increase. That's a 25% increase. So
Just so the $150,000, right now we're getting $90,000 out of that. I don't know if you said this because I was just a little distracted for a second. So, but our portion of this, of the $150,000, would be $11,000. So that would bring it up to our total money's $101,000.
right, 101,240.
Right.
And that's from the school district separately from the village. But
Yeah.
It's separate from the village levy, and it is separate from the school. It has nothing to do with the
Right.
school district.
But they're already
We just
paying us,
asked
they're
what we're
already,
already getting.
Orangetown residents are paying us $90,000.
Right now,
Yeah.
we get, so, right out of the
90.
600,000, I've got a sheet here that says I can send this to you. Japan gets 154, Palisades gets 82, we get 90, Orangeburg gets 100, and Bonneville gets 174. Everybody would get the same amount of, portion amount of increase. So,
Right.
so even if we didn't support this, but it passed, we
We'd
still
still
get
get
the
it.
money. But what they would like us to do is agree to support
Sure.
the referendum.
Why
And-
wouldn't,
United
why
Front.
wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I
is there a
don't,
reason why
I
not?
think that's one way to look, why wouldn't support this?
Right. Makes total sense.
Only help us in that sense. And, so again, the town's attitude about this is if it's extra money raised, then it's less money they don't have to, this helps them not have to raise more
Right.
from their budget.
They're not gonna have to increase the line on it.
Yes. And so the other libraries are, in that sense, dependent on or beholden to
They
the
need
town
that.
budget.
Yeah.
So this is helpful on that front. And it basically is a neutral issue for the school district because it doesn't affect their budget at all.
Right.
Unless you vote on it 2 days before they vote on it.
Right.
Right, everyone's pissed off, I think.
But my understanding, I mean, in addition to that, was also if we do not participate in this,
Not support
Not
the.
vote.
if we don't support this, and it passes, Piermont residents are still going to be taxed on it.
Oh, yeah.
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 So
Right, so
We
it
want-
makes sense that we want to,
Now, if it passes, then this tax goes through.
they're going to see it regardless or not. So
As an Orange Town.
but
So-
But, okay, so I guess maybe I'm a little foggy on it, but if we didn't support it, or if we didn't want to participate in it, would we still get the $11,000 or not? Still get it
Absolutely. No,
regardless?
the money has to be distributed
To the
As long
law.
as the majority, like, we're only one, right?
Right,
So
so
even if we can.
I think we could, if we didn't want to pass a resolution that says we support the effort, it would be really rude of us to oppose the effort.
Right,
Mhm.
because it.
Yeah,
we're
it doesn't
probably-
make any
We're not
sense.
gonna
Doesn't make
why
any
would we
sense.
support it?
Right.
Right.
It's a binary solution. Either you're gonna say yes or you're gonna say no. And I say we say yes. I mean, if we have
Yeah,
to declare ourselves, right?
As
I
part
can-
of five.
I think, yeah, we are part of it, and we are related to these, and if anything, we want to be more related.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
we want to share ideas.
yeah, so I think.
So did they want us to
So-
vote? Are they saying we should vote on it?
Yes, I got the language from the Japan librarian. Here's what she needs us to be able to send her to resolve it.
Okay,
So I need a motion from somebody to, the first, there's two motions. One is A and one.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
So if we get the extra $11,000, we don't get less 11,000 from our tax.
no, it doesn't affect our tax levy of Piermont at all. It's independent of that.
So we just get an extra $11,000 if this passes.
Yeah, your tax is gonna go up a little bit though, because we pay into Orangetown, so
Right,
That
Yeah,
portion.
your Orangetown, your Piermont tax doesn't go up, your
Orangetown tax is a little bit.
right. Okay.
probably is $2.
Yeah.
That's voted when they do a special referendum, like a special election. It has nothing to do with the school district.
Right, that's the school district's only real interest in this is don't have your referendum close to our May
Right.
budget.
So people would just vote for this referendum and a separate election?
Yes. And it will run something like our elections.
yeah,
3 people will show up,
Yeah,
right. Or maybe
well,
these 6.
30 or something, yeah. I mean,
All the
this
board
does not get a lot of attention. This flies under the radar,
Uh-huh.
so.
And every year this is voted on, or it's just because we're increasing?
No, because it's increasing, so if they don't do this, or if it fails, then we still get the 600,000 of which our share is out.
Okay.
and then if this increases, it stays increased year
Until
after
they
year.
have another.
Until they set
They
this right.
can turn around and do it again next year, whatever they think the tolerance is, or something. But again, it's just,
As long as they don't.
last year they backed
pitchforks.
off, probably to double it. One year was a little extreme, that's
Yeah.
part of why they backed off.
Yeah.
Certain-
Okay,
So,
well, let's do it.
Okay, I need a motion for the A, that reads like the A. That's George motion. Who's making
I'll
the
make
motion?
the motion.
Shauna moves, second. Mitch seconds it. Is there further discussion on A?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. I need a motion on B.
You're gonna restate B.
Just read it. Is there? The motion is just like what's in.
Gotcha.
This-
To exceed our tax cap of 2%.
I'll
It
make
doesn't
that
affect
motion.
our, again, it doesn't affect us at all. Okay, so Vicky moves,
I'll second it.
in seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. All right, and then we got into the annual report, and, the way I worded the resolution here is that we approve the submission of the report, that we're not as a board approving the report as it read it and that it's been done. So what I want to explain is that Shauna and Vicky and I all sat through the training session. Shauna and Vicky did the work. Shauna did the reading. Just hold up here. Yeah, I wanted her to bring this so that this is a show and tell.
This
This
is
is
along
what
with being the head
all-
of the library director committee
Not really.
and everything else she's been. It's
So
amazing.
anyway, And I have two reactions. Either my reaction when I first was hearing about this, and we knew that I vaguely knew there was such a thing. I went looking for it. I couldn't find anything until 20 and 21. I couldn't find anything since then. That our library director turned the one who did this. And when I heard that there's a 2-hour training, I thought, what could be so complicated? So now, having sat through the 2 hours of training, I still think what could be so complicated. And what's complicated is if you don't keep records this way, then it's a really heavy lift.
You have to go back.
And Shauna has done that for us. I consider that heroic.
So,
Well, I learned.
Well, maybe that could be a question.
Well, here's
How could you?
here's
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
interesting thing though. I thought this report, who needs this report? And what you could conclude, at least what I get from what Shauna is telling me, and I read through the whole thing last night. This is what you should know about your life. Now, it's in a particular form, so they can aggregate the data and all that. Maybe there would be a smoother way to do that. But if we kept our data properly in the first place, knowing we had to answer this, then it's not such a heavy.
No,
And
it just takes a long
so,
time,
you've
but not
already,
as long as.
you've already heard. I mean, there's some stuff Shauna is telling us about our library now that we're not otherwise
right,
being
pretty
told
Yeah,
to.
yeah. There's
So I think it's a healthy thing.
Mhm.
Now, and Shauna, you correct me if I'm we need to submit it. It's due now. So, but when you submit it, you're not submitting it as a final document.
Right.
You're submitting it.
Draft.
They will react. They may ask
You're gonna
questions.
submit it to RCLS.
Yes.
They might come back with us and say, although we've actually, our report is 100% complete. There are 3 errors, but they're all documented with notes, so it should be fine. So, but they might come back and say, can you look at this question? So one of the questions, for example, asks, the name of our library director. Since we don't have one, I put down, because you can't just put NA, it doesn't accept that. So I put interim director.
Yeah.
It asks
So I
for
wonder,
other
that's one of the things I
questions.
wondered about.
Yeah, so I originally,
Vacant. Okay, so that's,
you cannot leave anything
You can't
blank.
leave it
You have to put an answer for everything. So yeah, so that's.
I know what you
that's
should have said. 3-headed monster.
Yeah, you can put something.
Interim director.
To be determined.
So in effect, if you agree to
Submit.
submit the report, what you're agreeing to is that Shauna did a good job.
Yes, yeah.
Well, I mean,
So, this is page 42, it says assurance. It says, the library operated in accordance with all provisions of education law and regulations of the commission, and assures that the annual report is reviewed, accepted by the library board today, basically. And
And we're not really doing
Yeah,
that.
that's what.
that's what we're making an assurance here in the annual report.
So how would you?
where is that?
It's on page 42,
You got
12.41 under assurance.
Oh, so this.
So what they said on the
So,
call.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. They said that we can, as a board, go ahead and approve it, knowing that there are going to be some changes. In fact, I already know right now because I just got your oaths of office. Anne's already got, so I was able to put in her date, but yours I didn't. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and add that information.
So all of the 3, was it 3 or 4 heads of each section did say they know that at the February board meetings, all the boards have to approve where it's at, but they know with the knowledge that there's probably going to be some changes after
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they put that. I don't know why they put that wording in there
What's yours that was
because it's confusing.
and accepted by the court. Well, the closest one was
As
accepted by the
is.
executive. But not, if it just got done, nobody's had the chance
So
to.
we also, we can change that date, first of all. We don't have to submit it until February 17th. So that actually gives you 5 more days So if you want to review it very carefully and you have any questions,
I mean,
we can
Well,
also do that.
we can approve this now because didn't they need that approval before the due date?
So the due date is technically the
September
17th to our CLS.
No, I
And then
know.
the due date to the states is March 1.
No, I know, but
Right.
they said like at the February board meetings, I remember him saying,
Right.
we know all the boards are gonna approve what and how it is right
Right.
now.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
can go ahead and,
I mean, I'm comfortable with this personally because I have read it.
Right.
I have questions about it that I haven't had a chance to ask Sean about that she may have answers to, or I just didn't, like I didn't understand where you had entered them. I said, we don't have it in.
Right.
So, okay,
You
now
have to
I know
put something.
that's, you have to put an
you
answer
have to
like
put
that.
something.
There were a lot of instances of that kind of thing where the software will only accept certain things and
Yes.
you have to put something in.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that will come up, and I don't know how there'll be plenty of places where if you look at because right now as you go down the screen, you'll see last year and this year. And there are some huge differences between what was reported last year and this year.
Right.
The answer to all of that is the person who did it last year made it up, lied, or whatever,
Looked at it the wrong
did
report.
a very sloppy basis. So these, I would be pretty certain that our answers
there were
this year.
certain numbers that no one could possibly enter.
Right.
So I was wondering if it was a glitch in the system because, and I don't want to really take the time, everybody's time tonight to go through.
What's in the column for last year is probably
incorrect.
Even if it's incorrect, I would say it's incorrect, but it's popular. That's in last year's report. We can't change that.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't even know how some of those numbers could have come back. Nobody questioned them.
Because it was never shared with the board. She submitted it without our approval. She
Because they're supposed to be linked
said that
on.
I went back and looked today, so all my email around the periods of time when it could be split. I looked at the previous board meetings in that, and I don't rely on my memories anymore for anything.
We were looking at the
Really,
minutes.
so- So I went in there, but there were some numbers here that she couldn't possibly.
But
So-
she did.
No, couldn't have been.
Well,
So,
who entered them?
I don't know.
No,
You know,
she
that's what
entered
I'm saying. There are some totals here which don't add up from last year.
right.
You know, so that's why I'm saying maybe there was a glitch in the system. I don't doubt that some of this were just estimates or guesses, or I got to get this done. So maybe I'm just going to put some in there because I can even see some of the responses. You did it based on actual count. I could see some of her responses
Well,
where she said estimate or average.
yeah,
You know,
but
so-
some of them were. Here's one really clear example for me. The library attendance this year was 25,905. When I put the number in,
What
Yeah.
page is
This-
that, Sean? Sorry.
oh well, this is actually in the actual report.
Okay.
So in the software,
Yeah.
this red error popped up saying the number of library visits has had a large change from last year. Please check for possible errors or provide an explanation for the change using federal note. So if you look, again, it shows 5 years worth, right? So in
Oh, you're talking about
2023,
where it had 25,095 versus 10,000.
right, so in 2023,
Yeah,
it is written that the number was 10,442.
yeah.
And then it goes all the way back, right? If you remember, COVID happened in 2020. So if you look at the data for 2019, that number is 21,250, similar to what we had this year. Then the number goes down because of COVID. The number should obviously rise. When I checked our documentation, the actual number for last year was 19,256, not 10,042.
Yeah.
That's an outright lie. And it's very easy to find that information. We have it. It was in the email that was sent to our public.
Well, whether it's an outright lie or she didn't, that's correct.
Right.
Well,
You know,
Yeah.
and no one's looking at it after to be able to
Yeah.
say, you know. So I wouldn't, and so I wouldn't necessarily say it's a lie. It could have been
well, it's wrong.
an
Incorrect.
input,
It's incorrect.
an
Just
input back to you, you know, in that one.
Well, it's
I think
throughout.
pretty clear
It's
what she
throughout.
did. She made guesses, she did it as
Well, what's
easily
the
as she
point of
could.
that?
Well,
What-
anyway,
Yeah.
Did
And
anyone-
we
Spilt milk.
Hold on,
did
there's-
try to
Spilt
swallow.
Yes,
milk.
well, no.
okay.
Who's talking?
Yeah, you know, we
Did
just have
anyone-
to.
Tina has a
Tina.
question.
Does anyone question this report, or it's just a piece of paper that you just submit, nobody cares?
It's submitted to the state of New York.
I
This
know,
is
but-
public record.
But does anyone from New York actually look at it and question, does this make any sense?
Well, the system will
The
question some
system
of it.
red flags like,
Right.
like errors
So-
beyond,
The
you
thing
know,
is, we want it to
natural.
be accurate.
Right.
We now, Shauna, having done what she did, it was pretty clearly not very accurate
Yeah.
last year. But not all of it was
And we
inaccurate,
couldn't
but a lot of it
remember, like-
was, so.
So I had to put a lot of notes in to explain why the numbers were so different, or why there was a change. For example, in the section on, what
I
is
mean,
it?
I saw that too.
Yeah.
I saw that too, and it was like at 2.17 grand total holdings last year was 345,618. This year is 12,000. I was like,
Yeah, that's the.
See, that's why I say there's some input,
so off the
exactly,
chart.
Tina, and exactly, and that's why I say there's gotta be, some way there's an input error, because no one would put in that kind of number intentionally. You know, it just didn't make sense, so,
This library.
yeah,
But-
yeah.
So, I mean, I think as long as we, do the best at these explanations and we're starting from an accurate point of view now, that's what we have to do. I mean, you can't, again, it's impossible to change
I
the
think-
past.
I
So-
think
Yeah.
what we would be saying by submitting this now is that we think what's being submitted is accurate.
Right.
And that we're not,
And we're open
and
to
if we
any.
had to, and if anybody wanna know
questions.
why was last year so funny, then our answer is because
Well,
the
these are
person
the real
who put it in.
numbers.
And we believe
Who
these
no
numbers
longer
are
works
real,
here.
Exactly.
and also that the board was not informed or consulted on this last year.
Right. we don't
Correct.
know About it. We
So
didn't-
that's our answer. I doubt they're gonna ask us that. Or if they ask us,
Exactly.
all they have to ask us is once and then we move on.
Right.
So the main thing.
All right.
I
So
think,
let's
Good,
let's
pretty good
move- I mean,
baseline.
Do you remember you wanted to sign off on this when it goes in?
Well,
Or is it just submitted?
No, it's just
It's,
submitted.
I'm gonna, so I'm gonna literally, when we're
Her
done,
name, like,
I'll
so
click this
usually
submit
the
button,
director put her
Yeah.
name.
and then it will go to RCLS and then it'll
She
come
might have
back.
just said I submitted.
I think the only thing that
Like
you
I
had to
think
do, that
that's-
was like the budget, the actual budget you guys have to sign the budget.
Yeah,
or
we
something
had
like
to
that.
do both for the
Make an
salaries.
affidavit or something like that. But not for the report. I've
I
never
found
seen this.
last year, in her director's report in March, I think she says that she had submitted.
She had
this.
submitted, right. I think
Oh,
it was
really?
just that she
Yeah.
submitted.
Because we never, I
We
mean,
didn't,
you never see
there
this.
was no
There was
motion
no,
to submit, no motion.
There was no email like you sent with the
Right.
PDF. or
That was the statement. Minutes, I don't remember any discussion.
Right,
I
yeah,
never saw this before. This is the first
Yeah.
time I'm seeing it, like,
yeah.
Well, and when I was looking at whatever I could find of annual reports, the only thing I could find was 20 and 21.
But it's also interesting that on the call, they say the board has to vote to approve it, and none of us voted to approve it. It was just like a statement.
Yeah, from her.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so I think what we're voting, it's not with the expectation that you've read through this and been able to ask all the questions you might want to ask. Though you're free to do that, what I'm suggesting is that we submit it based on certainly my belief that John.
Sean.
And we have a stack of paper here to show that she really looked, and that this is way more solid than
Yeah.
last
And
year.
we're pretty good on these financial numbers that we're submitting.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled them up from, that's what they said, just pull up your income statement on a cash basis, which was how we do it anyway. And I went through each expense line item and put them in the right categories and went through each month's bank statement to make sure the checks that were written
Yeah.
made sense, especially from the capital account, and then
Well, it says like on page 41. Again, I'll keep you here all
What's your
night.
favorite page?
And this has nothing to do with the investment account.
But, well, let me see, maybe page 42 on this. Let's see, page 44. 41, give me 1 second here. 41. So for example, like we have, like, for bottom says transfers to capital fund, 0.
Yeah,
So we had no transfers during that fiscal
Right.
year from our operating account to our capital account.
right, and then there's the balance of it is there.
Balance of what?
The capital. So the balance, that makes sense, the balance from, well, like similar to what Shauna was finding, like some of what was there from history was not making sense, but what's here matches our P&L from that time period.
All right, I mean, if you looked at them enough, and that's what it is. So,
Yeah, it's just
I'll accept it based upon,
Yeah, but you can continue to look at what you're wondering about,
Yeah.
and we can edit, and we can correct this year's submission
Right,
anytime going forward.
Yeah.
Right.
Electronically, you go back in
because
and
the wording's like weird, because like,
I don't have to, we can vote to approve it today, and I won't submit it until it's technically
Till the
not due till the 17th. So I'll leave it open, so if we want to make it, because I know I'm gonna add your dates for the
Right.
oath of
Okay.
office, and I'm gonna mail it tomorrow, so I'll have that date. So we can continue to revise it. It actually asks under the section under trustees.
so what you're asking is that you want us to approve it,
We need to prove it,
Okay.
right? But then we can
talk
still,
about the budget.
make changes to it.
yes,
Before we.
yeah, before we
officially
finally submit it.
And what if we find some month from now? Was a mistake.
Then we will note it in next year's
And
report.
that's-
Because as we know, the previous year's report is filled with
errors
I know
that
that.
no one ever had questions on.
Like, there were certain things in here, like total hours or things that provide service.
That's actually, I think, how she state. She
Okay,
did not take into account the 15 days of holidays. So I figured out the hours for those days and deducted that. That's how.
so that's $133 difference.
Are you talking about the total hours?
I'm sorry, yes, it's 20
Yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
that.
but I knew her number was, I knew it was right.
And when you counted in, I forget which one was more last year,
Which one? Are you on?
which was the higher number, the 2756, was that from the previous year, or was that the current?
We can't go through every number in this meeting.
Yeah.
We can't do this.
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
not.
this isn't fair.
Yeah, it's gonna take forever.
Right.
What is it?
No, I mean, I'm just gonna make a suggestion that next year, I mean, I guess this is the director's responsibility, but next year we have a subcommittee, a small, 2 or 3 people, because this fell on Shauna's shoulders. That it seems like a lot, and I get that you had a process, and it's amazing that you guys have done this. We didn't even know that this was like a thing, but this should not have to fall on one person next year.
Yeah,
It's
we'll
the director's
streamline it.
job. I mean, it's not the
Yes,
board's
it was.
job
Yeah, no, it's a great
follow
job.
through.
I mean, it's unbelievable number.
But you normally,
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Nope, looks good.
Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carries unanimously.
In the interest of time, we're gonna eliminate, we're gonna postpone the executive session.
We won't do the executive session. All right, we're not gonna do
Okay.
executive session. So may I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
And made the motion, Lynn seconded the motion.
I'm gonna abstain.
You want to stay here and read?
I'm
All
gonna
those
stay
in
here.
favor?
I.
All those opposed? Abstentions?
One.
One for you.
Good.
9:30. I think that's a record.
I have lots of-
I
Well,
hope there
we've-
wasn't
No,
anything
we've been here,
important.
we've been here longer than that. Not maybe so much this last year, but we've been here long. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Thank you. Sure,
Yeah,
thank you.
bye.
Plowing
So
through
I
that.
do want to say just one last
Board trustee of the month?
Yeah. She gets a caramel square. Would you like a caramel square for that?
As we started into this, look, I felt it was tedious about just getting the data.
Getting the
This is
data.
really the best.
Good job.
If you look at what's, this is manual
You knew
labor.
where to get it.
So
Oh,
I
it is
think we all owe
tedious.
I felt like that I really wanted to do right by our library. And
I
the
appreciate
more
it.
that I did, the more I realized how the previous person did not.
It's not.
It was so upsetting that, but at the same time, I was like determined, this has to be done the right way.
I would say this shows a lot of determination.
Okay.
And love, and it is so great that it's done. Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you,
What we
guys.
should do is ask the next candidate, take a look at this.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to do-
Jersey.
You see this pile of paper?
Well, I'm sure the one can.
Does anybody want one for the road?
I don't know if.
Take it back. And maybe Anna should.
Sure,
So Kathy has got
Kathy has to.
just some of the
Yeah,
sections.
I'm sure she will.
All right, good night, guys.
All right, good night. Could you send those resumes to us?
Take care.
Now that it's done, doing it the next year is already set up.
Yeah,
Yeah, it should be easy.
Because